Hey, I'm Naya. Welcome back to the channel. So today I have Luka here with me. He was featured on the Virtual World deck profile, which got accepted so well, and I'm super excited about that. And of course, we needed to make another video talking maybe about a couple updates he made in the list, and then also a couple combos, test hands. So what I was thinking we would do is just first of all, look at the deck, talk about it, discuss it for a couple minutes, and then he's gonna jump into solo mode and just perform combos, do test hands, and guide us through his thought process, which I feel like this is going to give us a lot of insight, and I can't wait to get started, honestly. Welcome.
Hello, it's nice to be back.
Thank you. So I guess let's just get started.
Yeah, so this is the ideal deck list that I was going to play at the regional. One thing I would like to maybe say is that, okay, so for those of you who maybe haven't watched the deck profile, the idea of this build is to summon Beatrice, and then Beatrice sends Malicious, which is an extender, twice because you can use it, and then recycle it with Nyan, and then Beatrice is an interruption by sending Farfa. And it can also be a really, really good interruption in games 2 and 3 when you can send either Banshee or Crescendo, and or just a really, really strong card against the deck, and then that card can just win. For example, you send Banshee versus Tri-Brigade, and then they can't play for Zombie World, or Crescendo versus Drytron. Another card that I didn't play at the regional, but I am considering playing it now, is Token Collector. So it basically summons itself from the graveyard, and then it prevents summon of tokens when the token is summoned. And so basically, I'm thinking about running it instead of Cycle Reader if Sword Souls become popular. But I think that's about it for the changes in the deck. Okay, so let's get to the combos, I guess. Okay, so the first combo I think you should know is sort of a simple combo: Kowloon plus Lulu, or I guess Kowloon plus GG would also work, but let's just start with Kowloon plus Lulu. This is the most basic combo, which makes the full board, or at least the simplest combo that makes the full board. It needs Kowloon plus Lulu, and I guess also one card to set for token, but that's usually have that because the deck has a lot of spells, so that isn't that big of a problem. So this will be just a demonstration of how the combo usually goes, and then I'll sort of just get a few hands and then play them out so that you'll see how the deck works, because there aren't that many just fixed combos. Every hand is different in a way because there are a lot of different variables, whether you use prosperity, whether you have a set spell to set, and the combination of monsters. So it's different. So I just like to show everything, and then you can figure it out you have to figure it out for every hand. So, and I guess I can go. Yes, exactly. So, and I'll go through my process in the head before I make the combo. Okay, so this is the simplest combo. Okay, so of course we need to start with Kowloon. These are just 3 random cards to demonstrate that we have extra cards, and one of them is going to be set. So you place Chucha, and then you use Lulu. So it's pretty obvious, and this is the first thing you need to be careful about. You always want to resolve GG. If you have an option of making a board using GG and a stronger board using Lily, you'll preferably use GG because you always want to have Lulu in hand for that recursion. So we search. Okay. And I guess the Qinglong searches Lao. So a similar combo would have been if we use GG and then Lulu. Okay, and we discard the random card. Okay, so now we special summon GG, and we send a card to the graveyard. In this specific combo, we need Chuche for the level modification, but if we already had that, we could have sent Janwu for the extenders. Okay. So then we go into charge. This is not something to be that's really important. The important thing is that the important thing will happen now. Okay, so we use Lao. And target Chucha, and now because we want to get as many monsters in the field as possible, we send Nyan, we reborn Gigi, and we don't reborn Gigi, we reborn Lulu, and then we reborn Nyan. The reason we do that is because now we're going to go with Lao and charge into Beatrice, and then we're going to use Mali twice with 2 tuners, once to make Shenshin and once to make Token.
Right. That's why you have so many tuners on board.
Yes, that's why I didn't report GG, because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do that. Okay. So
And by the way, while he's sending malicious to the graveyard, our entire stream is probably a bit like 480p because I'm recording a screen of his stream. So we're providing very quality content to you, even though like the actual pixels are not great. So if you can bear with that, we'll be very grateful because the content is going to be incredible. He's a very good player. His reasonings are always good. His thought process is amazing. So just stick around regardless. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So he summoned Mali right now. I'm going to stop talking.
So now we need to use Nyan first, because you can't summon Tzolk'in under. We need to use Chucha, making Nyan 6, and then summon Tzolk'in, because we can't summon Tzolk'in under Shenshin because it needs its materials to be sent to the graveyard.
Right.
And we need to use Nyan first before we can use the second Mali, because Nyan needs to recycle it. So
right. Okay.
This is pretty obvious. We recycle the Mali.
Mm-hmm.
Then we set a card we can set. Use Tolkien. Summon Shenshen. And then we use the second Mali. And we will make a Shen. And we will make. Oh, no, summon Shenshen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Crystal Wing.
Sorry. This was a misclick.
Okay. Yeah, misclick.
Okay.
And then summon Shenshen. Yeah.
Yes, of course. So this is sort of the standard board you're aiming for in this deck. It's Featurous, Crystal Wing, and Shenshen, along with Chuche, and in the end phase we get Lulu back. So this is totally the standard board. The board varies whether you have 2 draws, you have 1 draw, or you have 0 draws, and this just depends how many cards you have in hand. Sometimes you'll have 3 additional cards, sometimes you'll have 0 additional cards. And there are also some possibilities where you didn't use Chuche, and you can make Shenshin level 12 and then hard summon Zeus. This is another option. If you have enough extenders, can happen, but it isn't the most common, and it isn't the best one to make in every matchup. But we will probably
turn 1 if you don't know what you're going up against.
Yeah, exactly. It might be good against some back row decks where Zeus is insane, but otherwise, you probably just stick with Shenshin. Okay. So I guess we can just now sort of go with random hands and then see what happens. Yeah, you can
explain everything as we go, right?
Okay, so.
Yeah. Because obviously, like, for example, Kowloon is going to work with every monster, and like a monster plus another monster is going to work, or like a Qinglong plus a monster. Like everything has combinations, but I guess it really depends on how many monsters you draw, if you can set cards, and then variations go from there.
It doesn't make sense to try to explain as many combos as possible. I think the concept of how hands should work is more important. Okay, so now here we drew a pretty good hand. We drew 3 monsters, or actually we drew 4 monsters, but one of them will need to get normal summoned, and Prosperity. If the combo works, usually you don't use Prosperity unless it gets interrupted. So, okay, so now of course we need to normal summon GG, and now here's the thing. So, we will use all of the names. So which is the proper way to start? Okay, so we can start by using Lily, sending Qinglong and another trap. Then Qinglong can search Lulu, discard 1 card. Then we can summon Lulu, send another trap, the one that we haven't sent before, and search Kowloon. And then Kowloon will be we will use Kowloon later to add Chucha, and we also use it as a set. So okay, so what can we do from there? We can go with Lulu and Gigi into Coral, go into Tzolk'in, draw a card, and then set Kowloon, summon Crystal Wing, and then I think we should have enough extenders with Lao to summon the full board. So here it was easy because the hand is good enough, and it's one of those more common hands, but there will come hands in this video where I'll have to think through a few different scenarios.
Yeah.
So here I would like to discard Prosperity because I think GG is a good card for follow-up, and we won't have to use that. So okay, now we can use Lulu. We can send the other trap and add Kowloon. So now with these 2, we go into Coral. Another option here that might be better actually might be to just Chucha modifies Lulu's level to 6, and then we can go into Tzolk'in and set Kowloon and some Crystal Wing. That would be better because we don't play into Nibiru. Even if if we did it in the other way, it wouldn't have mattered that much. Even if they Nibiru's because we would still have Shen plus Beatrice plus Chucha, which would pop the Nibiru, so it would be fine.
So I guess a good tip would be to always keep Law as long as you can in your hand. In case if they Nibiru you, then you for a fact have at least one monster.
Yeah, I mean it's if you can, but I think usually there are either hands where you can make Tolkien or you can make Tolkien fast or you can't make Tolkien fast. And
Right.
if you can't make Tolkien fast, you just think that Nibiru doesn't exist because in game one Nibiru isn't really that big of a problem. Maybe it's a one-off for crossout, but otherwise it's not really something to be afraid of. So I would just say you try to make the biggest board, and that would be the first priority. If they Nibiru, you probably still get Lulu back. You still have a Chuche, which is still okay. And post siding, then maybe you can play around Nibiru by if you can summon Tolkien by summoning Beatrice, and then Beatrice instead of Mali can send a card that auto wins the match. That would be my idea of playing through Nibiru. Here we need to use Lao on Chuche because we still don't have Nyan, and we need to send Nyan special summon back Lulu. And now we need special summon back. And now Nyan, of course, gets special summon back. And now the play that gives us the most cards would be to go into charge, draw a card, and then go into Beatrice. Oh, here's the Nibiru. Summon Beatrice, and then send Mali, and then we will have the full board.
So in this build, you're like relying on malicious a lot, basically. It's one of the very important cards, I feel like.
It is pretty important for making the biggest board you can, but even without malicious, the deck would still work perfectly. The only difference would be that you aren't able to go for Tolkien and Crystalling. And so that's something I probably should have mentioned at the start of the video, but you can just cut those, and if this specific deck with malicious is too complicated, and just try to put Beatrice, Shen, draw a few cards, and that should be also fine. I mean, it might even be better, but this is the more interesting version, I would say.
Right.
Okay, so here we get that Lulu. Don't forget that, and we have a really strong board and a really good follow-up. So I think here we're doing okay. Okay, so this is now one of those complicated hands, which we will have to trigger something on Shinglong. So the way we can do that is either by using Lily on Shinglong or by using GG. I think Lily would be better because it sends a trap and a monster, which are both useful. But what to do then? I think we don't have to use Prosperity yet, or at least we can set it before using it. So the idea of how we could play is by activating Shinglong, using Lily, sending trap and Nyan, special summoning GG, recording Nyan, and then okay, so then GG can of course search the Shinglong can search Lulu, but first we might be able to use Chuche, making Nyan 6, making Tolkien, setting Prosperity, then summoning Crystal Link, and then we can search Lulu, discard Malicious, and then do we have enough?
At that point, you're almost good to go.
Yes, but you need to think it off. You need to think first, because sometimes you will be able to summon Tolkien, but you won't have enough extenders to make Beatrice and Shen as well. So you need to calculate first if you have enough, and I think, yeah, this specific combo wouldn't have worked because we only have one malicious effect because we used Nyan too early. So maybe we need to use Lulu first and then use Nyan later by triggering it off of something else. Yeah, okay, so that's the way we go. Okay. So, I mean, you don't always need to think for everything. You can maybe just start doing something that's probably okay, and then and then you see what happens, because it's not guaranteed that all these effects will go through. So I think we need to.
True,
yeah, so I think the better card to send here would be Chuche, because if everything gets interrupted, we can still just modify GG's level to 6, then make Beatrice.
Okay.
And then Beatrice and Shinglong. That's my idea. Okay. So here we should probably search Lulu. And because we drew Mali, we can discard it, and we already have access to malicious.
Right, it's kind of free, yeah.
So we summon Lulu. We can. Okay, so now here are two options to do with Lulu. One is to either search Chucha or one is to search Lao. And both options are great, but if we can do the final board, we would preferably do it with Chuche. And I think just having Chuche is better than having Crystal Wing.
Right.
So because Chuche is a card that stays on the field and it just keeps activating every turn, because Crystal Wing can be outed easier, I think. So I would prefer
Chuche is
to
versatile, especially if, like I said before, if you're going first and you just want to set up different types of disruption.
Yeah, exactly. That's true as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think okay. So we summon Lulu. We search Chuche. We make Lulu 6. Then we summon Tolkien. We use this to summon. Okay, to summon Crystal Link, and we don't have enough because weren't able to use Nyan. So I think we aren't able to play around the Nibiru if we do this. In this combo, if we want to have the full combo, but if we don't play around the Nibiru, then I think we might have everything. Okay, so the combo. Okay, so like you see here, in some of these hands there are a lot of different variations of the combo that might seem like they are really good, but in reality they might not be, and some other simpler version of the combo might be better.
Mm-hmm.
So in this specific scenario, I don't think we. Yeah, I don't think we will we draw cards. That's another thing we have to check, and I think we might no. So of course I need to summon in first.
Right.
Yeah, so here in this combo we won't draw cards. So I think using Prosperity for banishing free is appropriate to just get either cross out to play around Nibiru or just to get a Hydra. So we can banish Charge and Coral. We won't need these two. And I think a good card to banish might be Fan because we want other stuff other stuff is more important. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can activate 3 cards. Okay, so we got Lao, which is another good extender, but I think I think I'll just take Lao in case I get hand trapped. And because we are able to do the full combo without using Lao, we can just keep it in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the Nibiru Rust Lao is a follow up, and if they don't, it's just also follow up. So it's pretty good.
Right.
This
Since
scenario.
now you decided to play the version where you don't care about Nibiru, right?
Yes, where I don't care about Nibiru.
Okay.
So because I'm not able to play around it, and not, because I spam too many monsters, so I don't think it would have been possible. Or at least it wouldn't have been that good because we would have lost too many resources. So it's just don't think we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, so or actually we don't need to use Beatrice here, so we can just use malicious. Okay, so actually, so here I actually messed up. So this is something that might happen to you even if you think through the combo. So I thought I still have a true chain fact, which would make Nyan 6, and then I would have been able to do everything, but I don't. So here I messed up because I'm not able to summon Tolkien fast enough. So this is something that might happen in this version to just mess up the combo. So let's return back to this situation where we have this.
Yeah. So like it's maybe a good advice. He probably mentioned this before, but like you don't need to always think everything in your head. Just go start playing, and if you see that some plays will not be optional, like to even make, just reroute the plan into what you initially thought. So right now he was playing like Nibiru doesn't exist, just going for the full combo, and then a card was missing Chucha was missing, right, to change the levels. Like later on because you miscalculated, right? So that's what you need to do, just sit with yourself on solo mode for like 5 hours and just legit grind those combos because some of them are very complicated. So I'm actually glad this happened so we can show what can happen basically.
Yes, so I mean this wouldn't have been that much of a problem. We would have had to use Lao before and then or either discard Lao in order to make the full combo, which wouldn't have been ideal. So
right.
So we can maybe do this better. That's why I stopped because I mean it probably wouldn't have mattered because our board would have been strong enough and we would have been able to make the same strong board.
Yeah.
But there are always improvements. And again, these combos aren't fixed. These are some of the hardest combos when you draw Qinglong plus some cards because
No,
every single
Xinglong
one
is
of
the
them.
worst. Yeah, it's probably like Kowloon with the combination of monster is the best, and then monster plus monster, and then Xinglong is like the bottom of the list.
Yeah, because the slight variation in Qinglong hands results in a very, very different board, or
Like end boards. Yeah.
everything. Or no, no, it doesn't end different end boards, just a different combo. There's different ways to get to
Oh,
those
how
end
to
boards.
get to the okay. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Okay, so maybe here we have to
Mhm.
actually go for Tolkien faster. But
Okay.
so let me here.
But this was your initial idea, right? To go into Zorkin first, and then you said that you will not be able to have Beatrice also, but that didn't matter that much since you played around Nibiru
Yeah,
at that point.
so maybe we would have had to discard use Janwu here. So
Okay.
um, yeah, so one thing we can do is go into Coral and then, like I said, Coral and Tolkien, and then summon Crystalline, and then use Mali, special summon Mali, and then go into 9. But then we also don't have. Oh no, but then we might have enough stamps. Okay, so here the mistake was of using Prosperity, so I shouldn't have used Prosperity here. I mean, again, the combo would still work, but this way I'll have one more card than in the other combo, so it's a bit better. Okay, so
But at that point, we are playing into Nibiru right now, right? But we are going for an
yes,
optimal board, I
we
guess.
are playing into Nibiru, but or at least we are somewhat playing into Nibiru. So let me explain. So summoning Tolkien and we draw Coral. Oh, okay, this was on top, so I'll shuffle it. So the thing is, they have to Nibiru us now because otherwise Tolkien will trigger. And if they do,
Right.
we can still use Malicious, and then we have something to reborn with Janvu, so we will still be able to add on Shen plus Chucha, and we'll have enough cards banished that Chucha will be able to pop Nibiru, and we'll add back Lulu, and we still have we'll have Gigi and Lulu
Almost a
for
basic
follow-up.
board. Yeah.
Yeah, the most basic board, but it's still something through Nibiru. So
Right.
we're not fully playing into Nibiru, but we are somewhat playing into Nibiru. So
Yeah. And you
so
need to
now
Nibiru on the summon of Solkin. You shouldn't wait for the effect to actually trigger.
yes, because then it's the exact same thing, but then we have an extra crystalline, which
Yeah.
we wouldn't.
An extra crystalline, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, the difference in the end board and the previous board will just be one more card in hand, which will be GG in this example. I mean, it's not that big of a deal if something like this happens. I mean, it is probably still fine, but I'm trying to make the best possible board so that you see every possibility, right? So here we'll need to use Janvu in order to reborn Lily to make Beatrice. And we'll use a second value as well. Make it level 6. And this is it. So, I mean, again, GG, the additional GG in hand is not anything that probably won't make a difference, but if it does, then we made the best plays. So
Right. And this is still the optimal board. We just needed some time to figure it out.
yes, and exactly, like even in that scenario, the board would have been the same except this card doesn't exist. That's the only difference.
Right.
Now we have both Gigi and Lulu, so it's a bit better. And we can also send a random card with Beatrice because we didn't use Mali, so we can send.
What do you like to send? Qinglong for follow-up? Or
we already use Qinglong, so usually the card you always want to have in the graveyard is Qinglong, and then if you already have Qinglong, then I would say Janvu and then Nyan, and then Janvu, and then Chuchet. But so we already used all of those cards, so the only ones we still can send. Right, and now we have a really strong board. So okay, this was one of the hardest combos, and even if you misplay a little bit, it might not matter at all. So okay, so this is now one of the most basic combos. Here we have access to every name, and we can basically play around Nibiru. Oh, actually, there is one problem here. We don't have a card to set, so even if we have a lot of extenders, we might not be able to end on everything because we don't have anything to set.
Unless you draw one with Stardust Charge, right?
Yes, so that will be the idea, to now draw a few cards and hope we draw into the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and then we don't need to search everything immediately, but I'll just do it here for the sake of just being able to calculate easier. So, and that you can visualize. So here, we'll try to draw two cards and also make everything that we made before. So how can we do that? Okay, so one option would be to summon Charge and summon Tzolk'in and go with Charge and Tzolk'in into no, or Charge and Stardust into Tzolk'in and draw two cards, but I'm not sure if that's possible. So we can use Lily sending Nyan, and then we can summon Gigi, reborning back Nyan. And then we can draw a card, see what happens. Yeah, but if we use Nyan, then we can't use Melee again, so that might not Melee twice, so that might not be the best idea. So
You
another
would
option
rather
would be
go for Gigi?
yeah, so maybe it's better to just keep it in the graveyard and use it after we use Lao. So maybe we can just use Gigi and okay, we use Gigi and Lily. Make Charge, draw a card, then go into Beatrice. Beatrice sends Mali, and then use Lao and go into Coral, and then go with Mali into the Tzolk'in and try to draw another card. This is what I would have done. This is the best play. So we draw one. If we draw a card to set, then we set it. Otherwise, a good play to do is to summon the Vermilion Dragon Mech and to add to banish a tuner from the graveyard, pop Vermilion, and Vermilion can add you back a tuner. So we basically have a bit more follow up than you would have had if you don't summon this. So this is probably the best play to try. Okay.
So this is the route if we don't draw something to set, right?
Yes, Vermilion is the alternative for Tzolk'in. Just Vermilion and get another follow-up back. And also Vermilion in the graveyard is nice because then you can Coral, summon Vermilion on the following turn. Vermilion can pop a card, and then you can immediately go into Enter Vladimir. So it makes summoning going into any level 9, or I mean into Cloud Castle, a really powerful play. So here I guess we can send this. We will get everything, so it's not really important the way we do it. But we want to get everything, so yeah. Right, draw. Oh, so now we drew Call of the Grave. So yeah, now we can go for the Tolkien play because we got something to set. And if we will have to use Call of the Grave somewhere along the line, then I guess we will just go for the play I mentioned before. We're going to Mali. Now we can use Lao, sending Nyan, summoning Gigi, summoning Nyan. And going into Mali, and then Mali can so Mali can once go with Lao and Tzolk'in, and once with Nyan.
Would you mind then maybe showing the Vermilion versions? This is basically what we did in the previous ones. It's quite similar, I guess.
Yeah,
we could act as if though we didn't draw a call by and then maybe show that version.
Okay, yeah, maybe we get, I don't know, ashed along the way, even though they should have ashed before, but let's just say we use Code for some reason.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so other things into it. Okay, so yeah, here we basically just aim to get the most follow-up we can.
Okay.
So we can go into. We need to go into Vermilion first because it needs to be sent to the graveyard, so it doesn't work if we use Fenshin.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do this, and now Vermilion uses his effect, banishing Lulu, targeting itself, and then it kills itself because it targeted itself, and then the other effect activates. If this summoned card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished tuners, add it to the hand. So we can add back Lulu. And then we also make this. And this is also just a pretty good board. This is one disruption, this is another disruption, this is a macrocosmos. We have Ash, and in the end phase we will get back Lao. We have Lulu and Lao for follow-up, and also we still have one Mali effect on the following turn. And maybe
all
even
of the trap spells in grave also, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a lot of follow-up, and this is like really good. And just one thing we have to be careful about is that we don't somehow just are left with just one card banished, because then we can't use two chat. That happens sometimes, but
I
Here we
guess a
have
good
to.
advice would also be if you have Qinglong, just activate it to negate like your card to make Chucha alive.
That is an
If you really
option.
need to.
I think. I mean, yeah, that is one of the options. But the other option would be to just banish Luchen,
Yeah,
changing
in this
Chen back.
scenario, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also another option, of course. But
Mhm.
I think Qinglong is usually a card you will discard if you draw it because you want it for follow-up.
That's true as well,
So
yeah.
yeah, okay. So this is one version of the combo.
Hmm.
Okay, so now this is again pretty similar to the previous version. So, or actually, I think we had something like identical to this before. So maybe we can just skip
Yeah,
this.
just go for the weirdest hands possible. Oh, this one's pretty.
It's something weird. Okay, so here we have to do this. So we don't even need to think about if we have to do this because this is the only
This is
possible
the only
play.
thing we can do, yeah.
Yes. So here, okay. So now here's the first thing where you have to think: do we send Chucha or do we send Zhangwu?
Hmm.
So if we send Zhangwu and Chucha gets interrupted, then we don't have a play. But if we send Chucha, we can modify GG's level. I guess then we also don't have a play because we don't have anything to trigger the name on.
Hmm.
So, and we are going to search Lulu with Qinglong. Or do we have to search Lulu? Wait a second. Yeah, maybe we don't have to search Lulu because we already have Chucha in hand. So maybe something to search would be. But maybe we could search something else. But this is really tricky. Yeah, so I think we have to sort of search Lulu, but one thing we won't do, we actually won't send any traps because we want to search Kowloon with Lulu. Or actually no, this is nonsense. We will send a trap.
Since we're gonna
We will
send
just
both at one point anyway, right?
okay, no. The idea is that we don't need to search Kowloon because we don't have any other names to trigger on, which are better to trigger on, which can trigger on Chuche if we have Kowloon, but
Okay,
otherwise we
right.
have to trigger the name. But now we can actually just send the other Qinglong, which we wouldn't be able to send otherwise with Lulu, and discard
Okay.
when we search, or discard Chuche at some point with Shanwu. So, and this is, I don't think the amount which card is in hand actually matters. The way you have Chucha in this example, if you have to with Kowloon or with just setting it, but I think it's not that important. This is just the way we went with now. So yeah.
Hmm.
Right. So now we have Mali and we have Reborn and something else. Okay, so now there are a few options. Now there's an option of going immediately into Beatrice, and then Beatrice will send Nyan because we don't have Nyan,
Hmm.
and going into charge into Beatrice, of course. And then we can reborn something with Janvu, and then we can use Mali twice, and we have full combo. Yeah, okay, so that's just the best play. This may be funny because we drew a really bad hand. We drew GG plus Lily, but I mean it's playable, but it's a pretty bad opening. It's like barely playable, but it will end on the maximum board, which is
No, the good thing
pretty.
was that you drew malicious, so you can continue with it.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So that's the thing about this deck. Because of malicious either being in the deck or when you draw it and discard it, the deck is somehow able to almost always end on the best board possible, which is pretty interesting. Right, and now we modify Nyan, make token, put my back to the deck, some crystal wing.
And it's the basic board once more. So the rule is basically just get out two tuners and then go with Nyan first, recycle, and then Zolkin, and then Shen Shen. So you don't lock yourself.
Yeah, that's the rule if you make features first.
Right.
But yeah, that basically the rule. Or you can also have just one level 6 or the other option would be to have a tuner or two tuners in the level 3 and then go into Coral and then into Tolkien if you use Sucha. But yeah, this is one of the rules. So. The only sad thing now is that we don't get Lulu back because we normal summon GG.
Right.
But we have follow up in form of King Long, so I think we are probably okay. and this board is strong. So, oh yeah, and also we drew Farfas, so Beatrice
I mean,
isn't
our
really.
hand is kind of trash at this point, right?
I mean, it's sort of it is trash, but I mean, having Farfa in hand isn't that bad because on the following turn we can discard it with Jinglong
Mhm.
and then banish something. But I mean, it's not ideal, definitely. But
Yeah.
okay, so this is a basic example of what we call a virtual world hand. It's a hand where you break. So I think here it's not entirely losing. So one thing you can do is set Janvu and then pass and then hope Gamma stops them. I think usually you will break on mostly hand traps, so it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, yeah, true.
So the thing is, against combo decks, if you draw like 3 hand traps and you can't play, it might be okay because because they probably can't play for those 3 hand traps, and then you might be able to just draw and get back into the game. So it's not completely losing. It might be completely losing against control decks,
True.
but that's also not that big of a deal because control decks are usually pretty easy for this deck to play through. Oh, okay, this sounds good. Okay, so here we have Lao plus Kowloon.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of again a really big play, but we do have Gamma, so that Lao is going through 100%, which is at least something. So this board will guaranteedly end on something, except if they ash Jinglong, but that's not usually what people ash, in my experience. So we'll search Lulu. So now we have 2 options. So we can either send Janwu or send Chucha. So if we send Janwu, then we can reborn something and then send Chucha. But the problem is that if Lulu gets negated by Ash, and we have Chucha engraved, then we can normal Lulu, modify the level, go into rank 6. But if we send Janwu and Lulu gets Ash, then we pass. So, and we also don't have Chuche with two materials. So I think that plays better, even if it won't end on the best board, because it plays for hand traps better. Okay, so now we use Lulu. Okay, so now, again, in case of hand trap, we will normal summon, use Chuche, make Beatrice, and then we would probably just send a resource and then pass, and we would have Beatrice plus Chuche, which would have been
Probably
fine.
been enough, yeah.
Okay, so now this probably won't end on the board, but it is what it is. So now we have to. Okay, so now we'll use GG, and this is very very tricky. Okay, so I think we'll have to send. Okay, so we'll send Nyan with GG, or actually maybe we can change the level of Lulu, make Beatrice. Oh no, Beatrice has to send Nyan, so it doesn't work. Yeah, so we'll send Nyan, and then we'll just modify the levels and send Mali, and then Mali and Lulu will go into Shenshin. This will be a pretty basic board, but
okay, this
it
works.
will be bad hand, so it is what it is. So I think if we would have discarded John Woo, then I think we might have been able to summon Sulkin. Or actually no, we wouldn't have been able because we wouldn't have a card to set, so this was a better play regardless. Okay, so
no, if you would have a card to set because you decided to send Chucha instead of Janvu.
Oh, we would discard Chuche with Janwu, so
Oh, you would send Chucha away. Okay, right. Because you needed to modify. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we are able to make Tolkien if we don't discard Chuche. Right, so this is a pretty basic board. And we get Lulu back. I mean, this is fine. It's Farfa plus Chuche plus Shenshen, and we have decent follow-up, so I think we are probably okay here. Like even just this board is pretty decent. This is what the deck without Mali usually makes. It's something like this and a few draws. So and from my experience, it is enough pretty often, but there are just several examples where when it just won't do enough because you just gotta either run through or especially weak hands won't make, well, like for example, a hand like this, no, not like this, the previous hand that made Shen Shen Beatrice would just make Shen Shen Chucha pass, and that really isn't enough. So melee just sort of boosts the ceiling in every combo.
True, yeah.
Okay, so this is now again a tricky one. So this is similar to that combo with Lily plus Gigi.
So in this situation, you would prefer to activate Qinglong or normal summon something to activate Lula?
Yeah, that is true. I think we have to normal summon Lulu. I think that's a
Right.
bit better because we this way we have more discards, and Qinglong isn't really a card you want to have on field going first.
Yeah.
And
also normal Lulu, so you can activate Gigi for follow-up. Since you have two, it's kind of free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, because we have to. It's just a random card at this point. So this will be actually really similar to a combo with Nian plus two names, but we will have to send Nian, and it will be a lot trickier.
Okay.
But lucky for us, we don't need to use summon Beatrice because we already drew Farfa, so the maximum board is just Crystal Wing plus Shen Shen. So let me think for this. Okay, so I can either send John or Chucha. Again, both options are probably okay. And then Gigi will always send Qinglong, which will then search another Qinglong, and then not Qinglong, which will discard Qinglong, but it will search Lao. We can go into charge and then use Lao, reburn something, go into Tolkien, and go into Shen Shen.
Okay, yeah, since you have something to set.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to make Beatrice, and I don't think it's even worth trying because we drew Farfa. So. I mean, if Beatrice is better than no Beatrice, but I think
would you rather go for a Beatrice play just to have your militias online, or would you rather go for the play you're about to show us?
I think I'll rather go for a play I'm about to show you because it has more interruptions. The militia, we can still go into malicious later potentially.
True.
I think having enough interruptions is crucial because otherwise it's just Shen Shen Chuche. Now it will be Shen Shen Chuche Crystal Wing, which is I believe much better. Okay, so now we search Lao, we send Qinglong, and now we go for this. Okay, so this will be useful on the following turn, but we can't use it now because we drew cards.
Right now it was a bad draw, basically, but it's good for follow-up.
Yeah, I think the ideal draw here would have been a hand trap, but I guess it's what it is. And we basically just end on a solid board. This is the board that I think the decks which don't play melee but play the Dragoon stuff make most of the time. It's
That's a
something
basic
like this.
board, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have if they draw all names, then they can make a better board. But this is what they usually. So I think this is fine. This is okay. It's not ideal, but it's pretty good. Okay, so there is another combo I want to show you. This and this just basic.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really weird combo that you can do occasionally, and I think it's important to show you because sometimes you might just pass by drawing this hand.
Okay.
And it's not needed because you have ways to play. Okay, so these are just two random cards.
Oh wow.
So these are hands Lao plus driver or another Lao. It's really, really bad. And
this
Qinglong.
hand just looks disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, some people will just pass on this thinking they don't have a play, but they actually do. So let me show you. Okay, so we can use Lao, and Lao can send. Okay, so there are two. No, there's just one. Sorry. So you have to send Zhangu, and then you need to tribute summon driver. Use Zhangu to reborn Lao.
This is perfect. This is legit perfect.
Yes. And then overlay for Beatrice. And then Beatrice will send you Qinglong.
Okay.
Which will search Lulu. And then Lulu can use her effect.
Mm-hmm.
And now we won't be able to summon Chuche, but we will be able to get the GG Lulu, which
Mm-hmm.
is also fine. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a really bad board, and sometimes I think it might, if you have hand traps that you would need to discard for this combo, I think it might just be worth passing and not doing this because you
Mm-hmm.
lose to every single hand trap, and the board is Macrocosmos plus Farfan, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really weak. But it is an option to do sometimes, like this hand, for example, that I picked here. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is a really weird combo to maybe have in mind sometimes.
No, it's good. It's good that we ended on this because this is very specific.
Yeah, I think the hands that we show are mostly the hands that we could show would be just slight differences, would be slightly different from hands that we showed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there is much else to show. I think this is more or less it. Maybe some weird combos where you need to tribute summon driver, because this exists with you drawing GG plus driver. Or
Mm-hmm.
no, GG plus driver and something like another Jing Long or another
Mm-hmm.
Chuche may work, but this is the most common one where driver is a combo card.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think we've covered a lot. Like, it's always good to have you on the channel. I feel like your insight is incredible. I feel like the people learned a lot. I hope they did. Let me know in the comments if you learned anything. And also, like, his combos are incredible. His thought process is amazing. So, what you need to do and why I like to have him on the channel is just to give you advice that you maybe should with decks like these just go for combos over and over and over again and take back plays. You don't need to do it on Dueling Book. If you feel like you want to have cards in real life, just look at them on the playmat. That's also fine. But like shuffle them around, move them around, draw specific hands and try to even write stuff down if you feel like that's what you need. But yeah, with decks like these, I feel like this is very necessary because you don't want to sit at an event and go at it, look at your hand and be like, whoa, I don't know what to do with this. You probably need to be prepared for every single situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one thing that people shouldn't do is pick up this deck and go to an event. I think it needs
Yeah.
a lot of practice. At least you should practice at least a week before going this events to a deck, or probably even more. But if you really put yourself into it, then you can probably do it in a week. But I mean, it is a hard deck. That's why we also have this video, and we just didn't just end the deck profile.
True, true. That's also true. I mean, he said it best. I don't feel like I gotta add anything else. Just let us know in the comments if you liked it and give me a like, a sub, check out Twitch, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.